Vault Hunters, so you're thinking of playing VEX, the siren who's had to fight and claw for everything in her life. It's a good choice if you want access to a pet class or some insanely powerful phase abilities. My name is Kodiak, this is Legacy Gaming, and this is why you want to play VEX in Borderlands 4. VEX is Borderlands 4's siren, and like in previous games, she is the pet class character that can give you access to companions that fight alongside you, albeit different than your more traditional hunter-style pets. However, what makes VEX unique is how different her 3 action skills are, offering you very different options depending on your playstyle and aggression levels. Phase Covenant is VEX's trait, and it attunes her action skill and melee damage to her current gun. This ends up being one of the most consequential traits in the game because it requires you to have a clear understanding of the game's damage types and their effectiveness against different enemy armor types. A great VEX player will have a number of weapons in their arsenal spanning the different damage types and swapping between them as needed to address the enemies in front of them. Everything in VEX's kit is linked together, and that's all because of the Phase Covenant trait. Deadringer is VEX's first action skill, and this one offers 2 completely different effects depending on what you need. When activated, you can choose to spawn either a Reaper that taunts enemies and deals melee damage, or a stationary Spectre which deals gun damage. Either can be useful, but it depends on your needs, and since you can summon multiple minions at one time, you can adapt based on your situation. This is a fantastic skill if you're playing solo because the Reaper can be used to instantly shift the enemy pressure from you to your spectral companion. On the other hand, the Spectre is pure damage, which can be invaluable as you run around the battlefield, attacking enemies and drawing their attention. Because Deadringer has 2 independent effects, you have to consider your augments more carefully. Options like Hellish Harvest enhance your Reaper, but have no effect on your Spectre. Similarly, something like Wither, which gives your Spectre new functionality, does nothing to change the potency of your Reaper. You can still summon either at will, but you might not be getting the full effect of your augment. Other options like Coven give you on-demand passive buffs, which are nice, but not nearly as flashy. However, once you unlock VEX's capstones, Deadringer gets really nutty. Dark Pact allows you to equip 2 augments, which is ridiculously strong. Not only that, but you can also empower your minions on demand. The other 2 capstones are about maximizing the damage of your minions, either empowering the Spectre with the Heirloom capstone or the Reaper with the Grim Reaper capstone. If you prefer a consistent companion when exploring the world, then VEX's second action skill, Phase Phamiliar, is most likely the choice for you. When equipped, you'll summon Trouble, a spectral minion that will fight by your side during skirmishes. When you activate the ability, Trouble will teleport, dealing damage in an AoE, while also regaining full health and receiving a buff to its damage for a short period of time. What's unique about Trouble is that while you can empower the companion, it's a constant threat so long as it remains alive, and while it can be killed, that omnipresence can be very helpful, especially when confronted with multiple enemies. Because Trouble is a relatively one-dimensional companion, you end up with a series of augment options that are pretty easy to dissect. All 5 of the current augments introduce a new command skill into the mix, allowing you to, on demand, trigger something new about the Spectral Cat. For example, Violent Outburst allows you to straight up explode Trouble, dealing damage in an AoE around the companion. Other augments like Hexus Nexus give Trouble the ability to taunt enemies, while on command you can force it to charge enemies, spawning a singularity that pulls nearby enemies in. Each command skill is a little different, and what you choose is really going to depend on how you like to play. Unlike the augments, the capstones don't give you more on-demand control of Trouble, but instead greatly enhance one aspect of the companion. Unsealed is the most interesting capstone as it allows Trouble to now mark its current target, increasing the amount of gun damage that enemy takes. There's also a kill effect that increases Trouble's ability to stay alive and deal damage. The other 2 capstones, Trouble Bubble and Double Trouble, are more about Trouble itself, increasing the familiar survivability while also directly increasing its ability to deal damage, either through illusions or a constant damaging aura. VEX's final action skill, Incarnate, is less about companions and more about pure firepower. When used, she erupts in a phase explosion, dealing damage in an AoE around her. For the next 25 seconds, VEX moves faster and can cast Eldritch Blast from her offhand, dealing damage to enemies in an AoE around the impact point. While in this form, gun damage also reduces the Eldritch Blast cooldown, opening up the door for some absolutely bonkers build potential, as well as some direct improvements via an augment and capstone. For most of the relevant augments, you'll find that the name of the game is increasing your damage output, but how each augment goes about that is slightly different. Something like Witchy Triggerfinger is more closely tied to augmenting your gun's damage, whereas something like Geistwave is a bit more unique, increasing VEX's overall damage potential by debuffing enemies hit by the wave attack. There are a number of augments that provide VEX survivability, which makes sense given that she doesn't have a companion to protect her when this skill is active, and depending on your playstyle and level of aggression, you might find one of those augments fits better into the mix. As far as the capstones go, well, as you might expect, it's all about Eldritch Blast, making it the most potent offensive ability, changing the nature of the ability in the way that might fit your playstyle. Specifically, the Heart Piercer capstone is really interesting because it also adds some co-op utility, allowing the action skill to heal allies when hit by the blast. To play VEX effectively, we need to go back to her trait and remember that the damage type of her action skills we just discussed are directly tied to the gun that she's using. First and foremost, understanding that relationship is key because it allows you to either deal insane amounts of damage to susceptible enemies or hit like a wet noodle, which makes her skill cap incredibly high as you have to juggle weapons and skills dynamically based on the encounter. That being said, she does have a lot of flexibility with her action skills, which I think makes her accessible to all sorts of playstyles, and whether you want a more traditional hunter pet, something a bit more unique with the Spectre and Reaper combo, or you just want to go all-out offense with Incarnate, I would say VEX offers a little bit of something unique for everyone. So there you have it, everything you need to know to get started with VEX in Borderlands 4. As always, if you guys appreciate the work that goes into making these videos and you want more Borderlands 4 in your feed, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, and consider subscribing. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.